everybody. Hope everybody out there's having a good week. Back to the AMA again. I'm here with a picture of Alex. He should be on audio. You with us, Alex?
Yes. Sorry, no video today, but still happy to join.
Well, thanks for joining.
Thank you.
So how's your week been, Alex?
Oh, busy as usual. So, yeah, that was pretty intense dev chat yesterday, and well, actually, the whole week, it seems. Yeah, a lot of updates, as usual, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of discussions about possible protocol updates, better tooling, right? More API methods here and there, and so on. So there will be a Sunday update video, right?
Yep.
And then aside of that, I'm also starting now to bootstrap the mainnet Gold Oracle pool based on Oracle Pools 2.0.
Yeah, I saw the package for that one of the operators came out. I think it was Boris. Pretty nice to see.
Yeah. So yeah, for full launch is expected in a few days.
Oh, that's exciting stuff.
Then yeah, so with the mainnet Oracle, yeah, well, the Oracle infrastructure will be ready for the Dexy and Gluon deployments. So we'll provide estimations for Dexy testnet release. Well, hopefully in a few days. So, well, still there is some mess with liquidity pool UI and so on. But yeah, it seems to be close anyway. So, any news about Rosen?
Sure. I do know that the Catalyst proposals are supposed to be, I think, released today, actually. So I think the voting finished last week. I'm not sure what they do for the week, between then and now. But I do believe there was a couple of proposals from within the Ergo community. And, Rosen was one of them. I believe that should come out later today. I know that Dan has been in Dubai. He gave a speech about, basically putting commodities on blockchain, which is pretty cool to see. I also know that there's an upcoming event in Vegas, and the Sigmanauts are going to show up, and I've been kind of watching them organize, the community side of the event, which is pretty amazing to see. I think I'll be on the stage on Saturday night there. Let's see how should happen. See what else? Hackathon's coming up, right? Ergo Hack is what, 3 weeks out?
Yeah. So 3 weeks before the hackathon, and there are like 12 registrations now. And I know about a few more, and yeah, I think actually there will be a lot of people doing registrations in last day or two as usually. Yeah. So yeah, seems to be good. And yeah, so there will be additional prizes for special topics to be announced in coming days, next few days.
Well, hopefully everybody out there that's interested in participating, can see another vector of participation through additional prizes. That's awesome to see. All right. Why don't we get into the questions if there's nothing else to cover? You ready for that?
Let me think. Well, there are always some things to cover. Yeah, there is some Twitter action from non-KYC exchange.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a good chance for the Ergo community to raise awareness and then get Ergo listed there on non-KYC exchange. So I don't know much about the exchange, but the name sounds exciting.
Yeah, definitely.
Non-KYC. Let's jump on questions.
All right, let's jump on the questions. Looks like the first one we have here. A question for you. What makes you excited about ChainCash on layer 2?
Oh, that's actually another update. I forgotten to cover, but maybe a bit early. So currently I'm already near about writing forum posts. So just polishing contracts. The idea is that you can do payments, basically, which means basically growing chain of transfers, right? And chain of reserves attached to a node via some off-chain mechanism. For example, some peer-to-peer network, right? Not the Ergo network. And then you can do progress for the nodes off chain and only for redemption against on-chain reserves you need to go on-chain, right? But what's good is that you may have isomorphic system where you can have on-chain contracts, right? As well as possibility to get the same data off-chain and then present to the same redemption contract. Then it's layer 1 or layer 2 system. So you can go for layer 1 if it's about big amounts, right? So maybe it's then better to use more solid mechanisms such as the blockchain, right? Otherwise, layer 2 would be enough, right? This is very good for adoption, I believe, because often just fees, right? And the need to work with some blockchain is what's stopping people from using blockchain based money.
Yeah, it's true. I'm excited for ChainCash as well. I think that creating this idea of like P2P derivatives and having clear collateral, clear risk is actually quite unique.
Actually, it's also I think the perfect implementation of the original Healthiness idea, right? That you may have well on-chain digital gold, but then well off-chain payments backed by the gold, right?
Mhm.
With now with no well trust introduced, right? Additional trust, basically. Well, maybe it would be something like Lightning Network, right? But yeah, also different because yeah, because well, it's the transfership is not limited, right? And well, there is no need for doing for connecting different channels then and so on, right? So then yeah, it's a simpler system actually. And also well, as we know, the Lightning Network is not very successful, right? So in Bitcoin, I think about 5,000 Bitcoins locked still. So pretty low amount. And for other proof of work cryptocurrencies, well, there is no any adoption, right, for Lightning Network. And I think one of reasons is purely economical, so cannot be solved with technical means. So it's because of Grisham's law, which is basically saying then that's when you have money of the different money of different quality, right? So, well, in case of Grisham, it was about gold and silver coins in bilateral monetary systems many countries had in 19th century, and not only. So people are well spending silver, right, and saving gold. And gold. So then, yeah, that's also working against using Bitcoin, Ergo, and other proof of work cryptocurrencies, so digital gold. For payments, right? So, well, why to spend well deflationary currency, which value is going up with time? If it's better to spend fiat, right? Very inflationary currency.
Yeah, we see that a lot actually.
Yeah, but then how can you use Bitcoin for payments, right? So in this regard, so yeah, well, what's Bitcoin maximalist is trying to do, right? The vision of future is well non-realistic, probably. Right. On the other hand, so well in ChainCash, so you are using some external unit of account, right, such as gold. And then, yeah, so you have reserves, right, in Ergo and other tokens. And then, yeah, so, well, with time, basically, so your reserve value is going up, right, with high probability, because it's also, well, deflationary kind of currency will be probably with time, or non-inflationary, let's say, right? So probably at some point, so storage rents will compensate lost coins and so on, and then yeah, there will be some non-inflationary and non-deflationary equilibrium. Right, but then yeah, so the value of reserves will go up anyway, right, against inflationary currencies such as fiat currencies. But you are rarely spending your reserve, right? Only when redemption comes, and there will be some fee for redemption. To incentivize using notes, right, and not going back to reserves.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. You know, if you look at like historically why notes on top of reserves failed is because there's difficulty with auditability. You know.
Oh, you mean early paper money, which
yeah. Even if you look at there was always an issue with what's it actually backed by, right? And that's
actually, since the very first paper money, right? So the first paper money appeared in China in like second or third century of our era, right? So it was declared that paper money fully backed by gold, but there was no real conversion possible. And now, it's known to history that in reality they were not backed, as well as basically most of other forms of paper money backed by gold, right? So back in 19th century, when on every note it was written down that it is fully covered by gold, right? So, as we have documents from that epoch, right, and it's covered in details pretty well. So it's known that real coverage was from 15 to 50%.
Yeah, and it's sad. Here we are. How many hundreds of years later, even in the U.S., there's a small contingency of people that say, "Hey, we should, audit the gold reserves." That hasn't happened in quite a while. It's pretty crazy to think about that. We still haven't really solved that issue in terms of what is the actual collateral, and what's the quality of collateral in many cases, especially when you get into volatile markets. Sometimes the value of collateral isn't all that it appears to be. And even on traditional gold markets right now, there's way too much paper relative to the amount of hard assets backing up that paper, whether it's gold, silver, etc. So it's pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah, well, especially as there are incentives, right, to dilute, so to issue more paper, right?
Well,
it's clearly profitable. Then, rationally, you can expect that this will happen. But then, blockchain fixes that, right? So here you have perfect transparency.
It's fascinating. It's true. There's a financial incentive to paper over assets, and I think that if you look at more exotic trading, like spoof trading, it seems like every other year one bank's like, oh, we just got fined X million dollars because we were manipulating prices, and that's possible probably because of the excess paper. All right, looks like we've got another question. Could you provide an overview of auction coin?
Auction coin. You mean there is some question about auction?
Yeah, we're looking for a overview of auction coin. There's actually a couple of ways. I've heard that Raffle was actually, considering a degen finance mechanism that's somewhat similar, I guess. But what's your take? It could be based on the forum post that you put a while back on Ergo platform.
auction coin. So just checked messages, from Unreal. So reportedly contracts are about to be ready. Unreal made it. And then we are looking for UI developers. So if you want to work with an Unreal and a little bit with me also, let me know. So maybe better to reach an Unreal even. But you can reach me. So I mean, these days I'm a bit over busy, to be honest.
Happens. I also heard that Raffle was considering making its own kind of degen play.
Raffle. I don't know about Raffle. Let me check.
Well, I don't know if MHS actually talked about it. But anyway. Is some kind of degen finance experiment where you do rounds, right? And if every round clears, then you enter a new round, and the price increases slightly. And I guess there's a certain assumption if you get into the first round, and that round finishes and the second round finishes, there's a certain markup. It's an interesting way to look at, like, I don't know, initial emissions of some type of token based on demand, right? So I'm curious. Always a lot of interesting degen frameworks out there, and if there's an idea of clear assumptions, it could be interesting.
Yeah, so need to check the rough idea. So on degen finance, in addition to auction coin, which would be, I think, pretty funny degen finance game, because it's combining people behavior.
Mm-hmm.
During auctions, right? Which is theoretically analyzed, but in practice, usually rational, right? With also expected price action on the DEX, right? And all the money from auctions are going to DEX to pump the auction coin. So. Would be interesting, actually.
Yeah, the degen finance stuff is funny. I don't know. I don't know if you.
Sorry.
Go for it.
Yeah. Also, Bruno has a few more ideas, so maybe he will reveal something around the Ergo hack. Let's see. So, need to check with Bruno.
I was just going to say the Holder community is kind of hilarious because, they're always, I don't know, creating their own FUD around Holder, trying to get other people to sell. So then, there's deposits. Watching that chat sometimes makes me chuckle.
So that's funny.
Looks like next we have another question. I've noticed lately, Kushti, you've been more vocal on social media regarding the reoccurring false claims about Ergo. What are the chances of developing a Fight the FUD web page on Ergo's website with information?
Actually, that's a very good idea. So instead of repeating the same things from time to time, it's definitely better to do some FAQ.
Yeah,
after all, right?
That's a good idea.
Baseless claims and accusations repeating, because unfortunately, there is no innovation here. So from time to time, basically the same.
Yeah, that would be good.
Things appear.
It'd be good to see like a list put together by the community that has the bandwidth to track all of that.
Yeah, so very good idea actually. We definitely need to do some FAQ.
So I guess everybody out there that's interested in participating in an FAQ, we could use some FUD fighters or whatever, FUD monitors. Because I don't always have the bandwidth to track all that. Usually I'm down chain when somebody pokes me and says, "Hey, look at this," right? So
yeah. So some things actually very strange, right? Like some accusations that developers, for example, can easily change emission because it's done via contracts, right? While in practice, we discussed different hard fork ideas, right? Which do need to touch emission, and then it's actually much harder than in other cryptocurrencies where emission is done in the core code. Just so when you are doing hard fork, right? It's pretty easy to change the emission also. But when it's done via contracts, then there are no any elegant option I'm aware of. Right, so EAP 27 was more or less, but it's just narrowing emission down, right? So reducing it, applying a filter basically on the old emission, like was proposed in one of papers by Dionysius Zindros, and then. If you are going to change receiver of emission, or introduce new coins or whatever, then basically you need to change interpretation rules for the contracts, or to do some special rules for just one contract. So it's very hard changes in comparison with what, for example, Ethereum developers did when they changed emission. Right, so you can add maybe new filter like done in EP27, and it also was not trivial, right, to develop such a filter, but it's possible in a soft forkish way. Minting more coins, or changing recipients, is nearly impossible. Or would be some very dirty hack. Changing a lot everywhere, because if you have some special rules, right, for just one contract, then it's hard to say how it will affect the libraries and the whole ecosystem. There are such claims, and actually, they're pretty frustrating. It means that why people are saying that code is a law, right? Smart contract is a law. At the same time, there is no trust, right, in smart contracts. So they treat it differently than the let's say native blockchain code.
Yeah, the caveat you have to add at the end of Fight the FUD is a lot of people seem to lack some basic reading skills out there, or comprehension skills, that come up with some funny things. I don't know where they come from. Maybe there's a financial incentive. Maybe their feelings have been hurt in the past. Who knows?
Also, I have a feeling that the EVM space did hit image of smart contracts.
No, definitely.
Heavily, because of reentrancy issues and different hacks and so on.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's well deserved. It's a crappy token standard anyway. Looking at the amount of exploits, it's just kind of been acceptable collateral damage, right?
Yeah.
Is what it is. All right. Looks like we got a question from Black Shadow 44. Question: is there anything being talked about behind the scenes about changing the Ergo difficulty adjustment? This is the main issue right now in most miners' mind, from what I've seen. Is it being an issue for mass adoption? I certainly would love to, have a grant out there for, the mining community to come together and discuss and help implement, propose an alternative difficulty adjustment algorithm. Basically, what that would require is proposing an EIP, some implementation, some testing. That way we have, practical statistics to look at. And I think that can be incentivized, right? In terms of the behind the scenes, it's something that we've discussed. I think that as a team, Ergo Foundation is pretty small. We don't have that much bandwidth. And so it'd be something that I would hope the mining community would lead ultimately. There's a lot of, let's say, minor developers out there. It seems like most in the proof of work space are more interested in mining efficiency improvements rather than difficulty adjustment algorithms. But you kind of open up a big question in terms of like the attack surface, right? And I think that that's always something to consider as well. Certainly, there does appear to be some mining popping on our current difficulty adjustment algorithm. On one hand, you're always going to kind of see that with GPU proof of work, but then the question is, how can we minimize advantages? And that's an open question. I would say, unfortunately, I'm too stupid to implement something like that, although I did kind of participate in improving the old one. What's your take, Alex?
Yeah, so would be good to have input from miners and maybe other communities, and we had some. But there are some issues, right, with updating the difficulty adjustment algorithm. So in the first place, some proposals were about doing recalculation every block, which means bringing additional trust, right, to clocks, while introducing stricter clock synchronization requirements. So currently they're not very strict. So you can, as a miner, successfully generate blocks if your clocks are within 20 minutes. From others, which is, I believe, okay. But otherwise, doing well. After some time, the NTP client was removed from the node. Right, because it provides another possibility, new attack vectors, right? Because the protocol is far from ideal. There are some known attacks, and because some mining nodes even had issues with block generation because of inappropriate answers from the protocol. So then it was removed, right? And I'm not fond of getting it back, and also introducing new trust assumptions, right? Basically. Then there are some alternative algorithms used in Bitcoin Cash, for example. So Maybe the algorithm can be compared, so can be injected into simulations I did when developed EP37. The issue with all those algorithms, so Bitcoin Cash, EP37, the initial algorithm, and so on. So they're always good in simulations on historical data, right? The common issue is that they are assuming static adversary, right? So you can find clear example of that in the original paper behind the original difficulty adjustment algorithm. So it assumes static adversary in the coin hopping scenario, right? So that's the guy, the attacker is hopping from one chain to another, regardless which algorithm is used, which is not the case. So, in reality, the adversary is always adaptive, right? So, the algorithm itself is providing information the adversary doing coin hopping, for example, is using. And then, it's always about asymmetry, right? So, adversary knows the algorithm, but it's not known what adaptive adversary will do right after algorithm change. From known possible to be implemented on the blockchain theoretical solutions, I don't know any good candidate for such environment. Right. So usually, if you also adapt, right? So you are changing your own strategy, but that's not possible with static difficulty adjustment algorithm. Then it's actually hard to find good candidates for alternative functions. Maybe guys who are more proficient in control theory and stuff like that can propose solutions. I would be happy.
Yeah.
To see such proposals.
I think an open bounty is a good place to start. I've actually been pretty happy watching. It's not even in the Ergo community. It's in the Ironfish community. They've been talking about adjusting, their algorithm. There's been some proposals tweaking, playing around with Autolicos. I think one of them was like to increase the memory bandwidth and K. And the algorithm created a data set that's like 256 bytes instead of 32, and seeing how that could work across GPUs. Interesting stuff. I'm happy to see the mining community engage, right? Ultimately, it is their business. So I think that an open bounty is a good place to start, at least from the foundation side. And then it needs to be, definitely a question about assumptions. And, that's a trickier conversation.
There are different scenarios also here, right? So, some algorithms, for example, not catching well with natural changes, right? Because they're slowing down response. So, the current difficulty adjustment algorithm, so even after EP37 is predictive to some degree, right? So it's better working when difficulty changes. Naturally, for coin hopping, it's also not clear actually. Is it good to delay response? Anyway, there is possibility for coin hopping here. It's actually a very hard topic, right? Because you need for a single algorithm to handle all the cases.
Sure.
And then maybe it can be done as a combination of different algorithms and so on. But also, with complex algorithm, it's harder to predict how it will counteract, especially adaptive adversary.
Yeah.
So it's the really hot topic in proof of work and blockchain theory.
All right. Looks like next question. Hello, hardworking people. Are you aware of the project Tabby POS? If so, could you say your thoughts about it? They're periodically pushing updates. I know that they've actually been quite active on the social side, and I believe the Asian jurisdiction primarily, building kind of hardware payment system. Pretty cool stuff. I'm not following every update, but certainly it'd be nice for projects out there to participate in the weekly update. That way they're more on my radar. But I'm sure that they have some documentation and Medium articles somewhat regularly. So those of you out there that are interested, check it out.
Yeah, also they're very active on X or Twitter. So sometimes I'm reading their tweets. So yeah, it seems they are providing updates regularly.
Mm-hmm. Now it looks like next questions. Are there any other Ergo dexes outside of Spectrum? What features would you like to see in a new dex on Ergo? Currently, you have some proposed alternatives, but different than what Spectrum is doing. I know Machina Finance is trying to do like a order-based dex, which is kind of a different setup. I would love to see new innovative ideas out there. What features would I like to see? That's kind of a question that can go a lot of ways, right? I think Spectrum is doing a great job with having the ability to run it locally, run local front end. I hope that whatever is proposed as an alternative follows that blueprint. You have this idea of different tokenomics, different incentives. I've always thought that DEX with profit sharing is always and been an interesting idea, but that's up to the developers who build it, right? What's your take, Alex?
So there is also a private order based DEX, basically run by Kushti's self-sovereign bank, right? So decentralized grids.
Yeah.
There is some software published after my contracts published on the forum. So I've forgotten repository name, but there is some code on the GitHub, so you can run and get your own private kind of DEX, right, run by your own self-sovereign bank. Yeah, I think, well, with time, more DEXs will appear, right? But well, yeah, for some time, to run a new DEX, it will be needed to find a new niche, right? Like order book based DEX, or maybe pools with different equations, right? As happens on EVM chains such as Ethereum and BNB. Right, so, but Spectrum guys already having prepared contracts for stable swaps. Yeah, after more stables on Ergo, they will launch it on their side. But yeah, well, there are a lot of options here, right? So maybe someone can launch something like concentrated liquidity positions, right? Which sometimes do work better than standard constant product AMM liquidity pool. Sometimes much worse, actually. Yeah, there is no proper solution for all the possible pricing patterns, right, for liquidity pools. And then yeah, we have a lot of experimentations on Ethereum about that, but usually it's going along with quite misleading marketing crap, right, claiming that one formula is better than another, but you need to understand that it is always better in some cases and could be worse in others, right? So yeah, if you are going away, if you are willing to go away to impermanent loss, you can get even worse kind of impermanent loss, right, in case of concentrated liquidity positions, for example, and so on. So yeah, then going back to the questions, because there are different tokens with different pricing functions over time, then yeah, I think it will at some point lead us, the Ergo community, I mean, to see more DEXs around.
Right. Looks like next we've kind of got two questions that go hand in hand. Where do you both see the space in 10 years, and how will Ergo's long-term vision be appreciated when so many new shiny projects are popping up all the time and stealing people's attention? Why don't you go first, Alex?
Oh, so yeah, I found one of those projects yesterday, actually. So it was Handshake. So it was one of the biggest proof of work launches in 2020, early 2020. Yeah, it's pretty much dead now. So, yeah, in 10 years, I'm pretty sure thousands of shiny projects will appear and disappear. So it's probably not worth to spend much time right on them. Aside of maybe studying well what's they're doing well, right, and some truly innovative ways sometimes. If those shiny projects are doing that, so sometimes you can find actually pretty bright ideas in projects dead from the start. So clear example here probably is Amoveo, if anyone can remember such a blockchain. So it was launched back in 2018 or 19, and it got listed on one exchange. Surprisingly, it hit BTC, and most of tooling like Explorers and so on already dead. I'm not even sure about the pair on the exchange, maybe also delisted, then there are no exchanges. And so on, maybe there are some enthusiastic miners still. But at the same time, technically it had some interesting things. So it was a blockchain with inbuilt support for layer 2 constructions. So the idea was, as far as I get from reading documentation, is about doing blockchain, which is basically allowing for doing things on layer 2, and that's it, which is quite interesting. I'm not sure how it was implemented and what about flows, possible flows, and so on. But at least it was quite interesting, especially back then. No any adoption, right? So no one picked it. From its developer, the guy I know from 2014, Zach Hess. Unfortunately, it seems it's just purely development experiments. That's it. I think. Sorry. There was also part about future in 10 years, right?
Yeah. Where do you see the space in 10 years?
Oh, the space or the Ergo, just.
I think it could be Ergo, it could be broader crypto.
Yeah, because about the space, I'm not sure what will happen in 2 years even. So it's so crazy. Space, unfortunately, pretty corrupt already. Right, but hopefully, with some collapses already happened, right, and some eyes wide open now. Maybe it will be better in future. I'm not sure, but hope for that.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that in terms of the last part. I think that, sometimes, I don't know, marketing in this space is a little bit too starry-eyed, and a lot of the adoption that people push for require political change, right? They require traditional systems backends to update to support, some of the things that we talk about. And I don't know, I guess in one hand you have like some future alternative where, existing powers are very accepting and want to integrate decentralized solutions. then you have another possible future outcome where, there's more, I don't know, animosity resistance, in which case, I still think decentralized solutions will exist in parallel and kind of create their own counter economies, which is an interesting outcome, actually. Then, yeah, I guess, time will tell, right? I'm certainly not psychic here. I don't have a crystal ball. So let's see.
Yeah, in regards with existing power, so I think we will see more laws, right, and other legal documents. The industry may split at some point, right, between regulated and dark finance, which is pretty well discussed topic, I believe, right? So you can find a lot of writings and so on around talks. Maybe also there will be two extremes, right? So RegFi and DarkFi, and the most industry is trying to do what it is doing now, right? So sliding somehow between different jurisdictions and their legal definitions and so on. So doing some legal arbitrage, let's say. Right. I think, that's easily could last for 10 years or even more, maybe, considering that, happily, lawmakers are usually slow about such things. Which was not predicted actually 10 years ago. So, 10 years ago, everyone almost was pretty sure that, soon, everywhere around the globe, the laws will prohibit crypto, and that's it. But, the reality is much different, right? With very slow systems, and also not synchronized, and sometimes going into different directions even from jurisdictions which making cryptocurrencies legal tender, right, to prohibition. There is quite a wide spectrum now.
Interesting long-term question. I don't know. Let's watch the space. I certainly think there's a lot of attention, that's kind of growing in terms of like, hey, we trade FI with blocks, which is, I don't know. I think that I always ask the question in that case, like, where's the line, right? So if you start engineering to quote unquote government specs, where's the line and what's the point? That kind of loses me, but maybe that's just me. What killer DApp do we need to pull in the masses? I think that if you're looking at mass adoption, right, you need to simplify things to the point where your grandmother can use it, and you need to basically obfuscate a lot of the background, right? It needs to be very simple user interface. Probably the idea of a blockchain is buried in the background, and grandma can use it. That would be the end goal in terms of like the masses, in my opinion. But what's your take, Alex?
I think I already replied a few MAs ago. That's ideally, it's when you can do payments and receive them without understanding that that's idea with crypto dollars wallet, right? Some magic crypto dollars wallet. Oh well, digital gold, right? Not dollars. Where you can get them and send them out, right? Without maybe even knowing anything about the Ergo blockchain. Right, just because, yeah, under the hood, well, pay bill fees and all that stuff will work right silently for the end user, just pressing the send button in some simple wallets. So that will have adoption, I think, definitely, especially in places where people do need right for such stuff. As yes, the stable value currencies, right? With well, also very easy to use interfaces. So a place like Lebanon, maybe I think Argentina, probably even but better space because of limits for cash dollars and so on, and yeah, so on. Then yeah, also adoption is not necessarily about grand mass, right, doing something. So recently I saw numbers of people using crypto already. So that's from 300 to 400 million according to different estimations, and that is already a huge number, right? So even adoption among them would make the world quite different. And yeah, also even maybe smaller in number adoption, but for financial tools like charities using Xler, right, to provide loans and having blockchain transparency. Right, bonds issued on the blockchain to get access to big market in like 2 minutes. So that's also kind of adoption, right? So maybe less users here by orders of magnitudes, but also they're doing businesses probably, right? People who are attracting bonds, or providing loans to some cooperatives in Africa and so on. Yeah, that's more about kind of B2B, right? Grassroots level finance, and adoption here would mean a lot also.
It's true. All right, my friend, anything to cover before we wrap it up?
I don't know, maybe one more question. We can cover it quickly.
All right, let's see. What do we got? Interesting question. Kushti, thoughts on Litecoin as a technology?
Sorry, what?
It's a user asking about your thoughts about Litecoin.
Oh, Litecoin. I don't know actually, because last time I paid attention to Litecoin back in 2013, probably, and back then it was just Bitcoin with yeah, a little bit different proof of work algorithm, right? And also blocks coming faster. I actually did mine some Litecoins back in 2012, 2013, when it was possible to do with just CPUs. When yeah, it was about like 3 cents, probably 3 or 5 cents.
All right. Well, that's it from my end. I gotta go refill my coffee. I ran dry like 30 minutes ago. I gotta wake up.
Yeah, so after that, I didn't track. So as far as I know, they adopted confidential transactions, probably. So some privacy stuff. I don't know why. And yeah, hard to say what was after. So yeah, I don't know about Litecoin actually. Not tracking it for now more than 10 years.
Yeah, sometimes I don't have enough bandwidth to follow everything that's happening in the Ergo ecosystem. So outside of that, yeah, I get more and more, let's say, blind. I have no idea. All right, everybody. I hope everybody enjoyed. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week to answer your questions. Those of you that joined, submitted questions, thanks for your participation. Hopefully, we'll have the capacity to get to them next week. I know we'll be throwing out the weekly developer update on Sunday. That'll drop. So those of you that are interested, please tune in. And those of you that are considering Ergo Hack, feel free to sign up, participate, and help the ecosystem build some cool stuff. Any final thoughts, Kushti?
Yeah, so there will be some community chats in coming weeks. So one is now pre-planned for week blogs and so on, right? And we probably need to do it before the Ergo hack. And yeah, well, another one could be about, let's see, maybe Dexy, right? Around the testnet launch. And yeah, so tomorrow there will be some Rosen workshop, right?
I think it's actually been postponed to next week, but I do think that, yeah, MHS is going to be breaking down watchers, responsibilities, roles, running infrastructure, all of that. We should get a recording together. Hopefully that will be released shortly after, and so everybody that wants to participate, even beyond the kind of that people in the initial workshop, have the opportunity to hop in, learn, and it is a permissionless position, so you feel free to participate.
All right. Yeah, that's probably it.
All right, everybody. Have a good week.
Have a good week, everyone. Bye.